Here we are in part 2. I made a little progress on the Wernji. Last time we were at this stage, you might remember, so the hull is ready and there's no superstructure or anything else yet. Next I started with railing, which is a little bit difficult. So this is a paper railing, which I cut with a laser cutter and painted it and varnished it so it becomes flexible enough that you can actually turn it into shape. To get it into a right shape, I also took from the deck templates, previous here, the shape, and I cut out from wood a top railing, which I later painted brown, and I would attach and form the railing on this wood, and then take it over the other side and basically attach it to the hull. Here you see it for the front actually, the wood on top of the paper. Here you see the result basically glued onto the deck. Keep in mind this is all 1 to 100, so that's the scale. The next thing I had to install the bollards. Problem with these bollards, which usually are round, these ones are elliptical, so I couldn't just form it from rounding a paper, so I did cut the base from wood with a laser cutter again, and then attached it to the paper and painted it. Next are the stairs, where basically I had the wood laser cut, bought with a model, and you glue them together. You can see the different stairs, the one with a frame, or the one obviously going down the deck, where we installed like this. The binnacle I made out of paper parts, the base, and then I found in, I think, Michael's or a store like this, some balls that they use for jewelry, I guess, and I painted them so it looks at least similar, let's say, to a binnacle. And you can see it here attached on the deck. Skylights, what I did in this case is laser cut them on brown paper. You can see here the opening, and then with my inkjet printer, I printed overhead film in blue, attached it basically as the window glass behind it. So it comes out like this. That's the other skylight, but that's the result. There's also some strips, as you can see, black cardboard here to show kind of the mechanics of it. Don't think that looks too bad. Here's an example of some of the laser cut accessoires that came with a kit, basically, when I painting them brown. With actually areas or pieces for the lifeboats. The next thing was the superstructure. The main walls of different layers of cardboard. Here I was able to actually use the wood piece laser decks. Some might remember what I failed to do this on the main decks because they broke. So here I installed that and did some weathering with some brown weathering color to make it more natural looking. The flash flies are installed, as you can see on the side. There's the binnacle again, the smokestack, and I attached some metal rings into the smokestack because I needed some way later to attach some chains. Actually, the smokestack is attached with chains. You just see it from another viewpoint. So that's basically the same technique with the railing here again. Still, you see some breakage even on the small on the wood here on the right side beside the light. This was instruction for building the guns. And that's kind of a fantasy because that looks all nice and dandy, but if you look at the size of the paper, what you're supposed to do this kind of thing, it's more than artistic. So that's totally not possible. So I tried to simplify this, and I came up with something that looks similar like a gun, I guess. This is the result. On the right, you see actually parts I used. So I used a styrene rod, basically, when we rolled the papers around it, basically. Did some painting of the base. There's a couple of his guns which were required. The styrene rod is like 1 millimeter diameter. Here's a gun installed. Davits, I used the paper parts, but I also made an inner woodcut part because this is never really stable. So I glued the paper onto the wood, front and back and the sides, and installed them. The wheels for moving the lifeboats. There again, from the wheel itself is paper, not paper, it's wood, which I painted. The base behind is obviously paper. Lifeboats. That comes interesting back to some of what Ian mentioned before, with the problems with paper hulls. The same thing actually happens even on the small scale with the lifeboats. So on the left, you see the way you're supposed to build the lifeboat from paper. I failed to make a picture from the other side. You would see the problems it has in the shaping of a hull. So I did some paper strips and attached them lengthwise that you see on the right to give him more of a, first of all, a natural look, and second, the errors is kind of more hidden with this kind of approach. That one of the finished lifeboats, it has one motor lifeboat. It's again paper and wooden parts, as you can see, laser cut, and the davits installed. That's the second lifeboat, 6 on the ship. You also see the chains that I mentioned before, but I had to attach something to fix them to keep the smokestack in place. Here you see, I think you see 4 of the lifeboats installed. There's 2 more on the back. That's a front view of where I'm right now. And that's a top view state of the build right now. In part 3, I will have to start the masts and the rigging. Everything else seems to be in place at this time. So that's really the end of this presentation, but I had a discussion with Ian about his last presentation, bringing up a problem. And I did some trials with, I will not say questionable results, but trial and error to the problem of building a perfect hull. I'm building in the moment the USS Carolina. You see the typical problem what Ian is mentioning. You see the cuts here, the hull. So what I did is basically make strips of paper like a double planking and attaching them into the layers, which will remove this problem of showing the edges and hopefully also show kind of a clinker structure, I hoped. Unfortunately, I ended up into a mess. So at the beginning, I used strips of paper already, which I painted. And then I will have to paint this whole thing together and then shape it a little bit with sanding it. So I did white. Unfortunately, this turned out the worst decision I would have ever made, because what happens is when you start painting, you fill in the edges. And when you, on top of it, try to sand some of the unevenness, you're ending up in a real mess, like this one. That's where I'm right now. So I brought this up to discussion about what I might have done wrong and what can be done better. I mean, I come to the conclusion that only paper pre-painted strips will work, and actually pre-printed relatively thick and soaked up so they become plastiline. I will never try it this way again. At the beginning on the hull, I did that, and then I made the wrong decisions, but I think live and learn. So I leave this kind of thing for your discussion or maybe some advice. Thank you.